hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Oh, it has been an amazing day. I have to tell you this. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast, number 2064. Tonight we're talking about choose to share, how to pass on your research to others. Yes. How do you share all of those years that you have spent researching and gathering information and records and data and proof and all of that good stuff and uncovering all those stories? Who do you tell them to? So we're going to be looking at that, some ways that you can share with others. You've spent hours, maybe years gathering stories, records, and discoveries. Now it's time to share that legacy in a meaningful way that others will remember, cherish, and build upon. Do you have somebody in your family who is wanting to take over, who is wanting to apprentice underneath you on how to research the family history and maybe take it over? You never know until you ask. So why does sharing what you do matter? It's preserving legacy. It isn't about records. It's about relationships and remembrance. And what happens to your work if you don't pass it on? What's going to happen to it? Yes, if you have your private tree on Ancestry, it is going to stay private and people are going to keep messaging you over the years to get access to your tree, but they're not going to be able to because you won't be there to respond. You are the steward of these stories, not the final keeper. So you are the steward. If you've taken on the role of being the family historian for now, for this lifetime, it is up to you to pass that stewardship along to somebody else who can then continue the work. Sharing invites others into the journey. It's how genealogy becomes family history. For example, a researcher passed away suddenly and their files were never accessed again because no one knew how or where to look. And when I was thinking about that, I thought, I guess I'm going to have to start thinking about all of that because I have been entrusted with all of the records from my mother-in-law that she did research, and I found 2 boxes so far. One has a lot of records in there. There's certificates, there's deeds, there's wills in there. There's a whole bunch of records and everything else in there, including immigration records, marriage, birth, deaths, and marriages, certificates. There's a whole ton of information in there. I got to get that scanned. So I've got it electronically so that, God forbid, if anything happens to the box when I'm going down to New Zealand, I'm not going to lose all that research. And then she's got a lot of handwritten notes in there as well. So it'll be putting those in as well. And then I found another box, which is all these photographs. Now, her and I spent a week. We spent a little bit of time a week. And this is how I learned the importance of recording stuff when you're talking about stuff, because at the end of the week, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember half the stories she told me. And I was like, damn, I should have had a recorder with me, because we sat there. I sat on the floor, she sat on a chair, and I was passing her, and she was going through the photographs and things. And as she's going through the photographs, she would tell me who was in the picture, when it was taken, and where it was taken. And I had an archival safe pencil. So I'm writing on the back who was in the picture, where it was taken, and when it was taken. And then she would tell stories. We spent hours that week sitting there doing this, hours. And I have no record of it except for on the back of the photographs is who's in the picture, when it was taken, and where it was taken. As long as you've got those 3 basic pieces of information on a photograph, we're good to go. All right, so storybooks or memory books. Different ways to share that we've found is storybooks and memory books. These are a mix of narrative writing, documents, and photos. They can be printed professionally or made at home. They can include chapters by ancestors, by theme, or by branch, which branch on the tree it is, adding in family recipes, traditions, or letters. There was a woman who created a 60-page book about her maternal grandmother's line, bound it, and gifted it to each cousin. Many cried while they read it. I'm going to show you some samples here. So if you've been following me, you've seen this book often. This is the Longland story. This is 6 centuries in the life of one family that married into my family. So I do have Longlands as my direct ancestors. That's my 6th great-grandparents. Hang on. I can tell you because I wrote it in. I found the tree I descended from and went in and wrote what they were. I think it's 4th, 5th, and 6th great-grandparents, I think. Hang on. Let's have a look here. 4th great-grandparents, yes. So my 4th great-grandparents were George Eakins and Anne Longland, who was the daughter of Thomas Longland. And that takes us back. They were married in Warboys, Huntingdonshire in January of 1784. It's my fourth great-grandparents. So I definitely have that information. Here they are. They're right there. Fourth great-grandparents. This is my third great-grandfather right here. And yes, because his daughter. Oh, that's with so that would make her no, she's not. Oh, hang on, I've got to refer to this. I've got to remember all of this. Went from them to them. Oh yeah, he ended up being my third great-grandfather somehow. I got to look through here and figure out the connection again, because I know I have it written in here. But yeah, my third great-grandfather was listed in here. Where's that in there? Yeah. So anyway, so I have the Longland story. 6th century, 600 years of stuff written in here. Does it all apply to me? Yes, there is some. That's because I'm a direct descendant from the Longland family through my Eakins connection. That's one way of doing it. So, publishing, taking one portion of the family tree and writing all about everybody in your tree that came from that family and doing that. I have come across many of these types of books over the years as I've been researching other family trees for clients and things like that. We've found books that have done as stories. I have one for my Bullen side of the family, which is on my mother's side, and I couldn't find it because I know it's in a box. I just don't know which box it's in, but I know that it's in a box and it has been seen recently. I just don't remember which box it is in, and I have a few boxes. And that's of the Bullen side. That's the Bullen family, and so they've got so it's got about how they persevered, and it's again a snapshot of a family. There's family trees written in there as well. It's really cool. Then I was given this, which I am very thankful for. This is a pic. Isn't she gorgeous? This is my great-grandmother that I am named after. This is Mary Jane Short Williams. She's got a double barrel name because she was actually born short, but when she was 11, she was adopted by the Williams family. But Mary Jane is her name. My middle name is Mary after her. She got all excited when she found out that I was named after her, and then my first name being Helen. She got super excited because she thought I was named after her sister. Now, what the family didn't realize is that she actually did have a sister called Helen, but nobody in the family knew it. Nobody in the family could recall her having a sister called Helen. And it wasn't until a few years later, well, not a few years later, it wasn't until I was here in the States that I found her sister, Editha Helena, who was known as Auntie Nellie, which is why nobody knew that that's who Helen was. So, but she was actually Helene, Editha Helene. And so I'm named after, this is my great-grandmother who I'm named after. She was an amazing woman. She is one of my 8 great-grandparents I actually got to meet. Her husband was my great-grandfather. I got to meet him. I didn't meet any of the other great-grandparents. They were all gone before I came along, which is a shame. Now, this story is one that my great-grandmother wrote, and it's a fictional story. But the rumor in the family is that it's actually based on her real life. So, and it's not, and she doesn't put her name on there. She's got a pseudonym on there. It's called Cynthia's Longing by Marie Inderby Gordon. Now, Gordon was her mother's maiden name. And her mother was born in the police barracks in Dublin, Ireland. And her father is definitely Irish, Samuel Gordon. Yeah, Samuel Gordon. He's definitely Irish. The question is her mother Irish? Was my great-grandmother's grandmother, was she Irish or Scottish? She has the last name of Brodie, which could go Scottish. It could be Irish. I have no idea where they came from. Irish or Scottish, we don't know. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. And like I had somebody contact me who was doing it on behalf of somebody who says that he actually has the pictures. The pictures that I have up for this woman are not her pictures, even though written on the back is her name and when it was taken and where it was taken. He says, no, that's false. And he apparently has these other pictures. Hasn't given me any further information except to tell me that I'm wrong. So I'm sort of like, until you give me proof, I'm sticking with what I have because what I have is documented. So, and then I have this book. And if you've been watching recently, you've heard me talk a lot about the Red Book. In the Red Book, we actually have It says here, this is the story of Patty C. Eakins, who lived in the Manor House, Warboys, England from 1858 to 1899 and in Cambridge from 1889 to 1899. One of the original books was owned by Ina Bailey, who was my great aunt, my grandfather's sister. Other books are known to be held by a resident in Warboys who once worked at the Manor House and the library in Cambridge. So my mother, my great aunt allowed my mother to take the book and make some copies. And it has been blown up to fit on a page because the book I've seen the actual book and it is smaller than the 2 pages. But this is Patty Eakins here. And here's the title page for her book. And then we go into the table of contents. But these are all letters that she wrote over the years when living in the Manor House and later in Cambridge. And her sister was the one that put it all together into a book. And so this thing is there's a lot of pages here. You go all the way, hang on. I've got to go to the yellow pages. So this is all of her book here. There's pictures of, this is the church that's out front of the house. This is the Manor House here. Yep. And there's a driveway that goes down the side of the church to get to the Manor House at the back. I don't think there's any other pictures in here. I think that's the only picture in there, apart from the one of Patty at the beginning of the thing. But Patty was not her birth name. No, her birth name was, Alice. But she was known as Patty by everybody. Then in the back of the book, on the yellow pages at the back here, is written the history of the house, who has owned the Manor House over the years, and all of that. So that's all in there. And then these pictures were taken by my parents when they were visiting over in England. This is the driveway down to the Manor House, down the side of the church. These are all the Manor House here. There's the church. In the church, there are gravestones there with my ancestors all buried there. And I don't actually have in here pictures. I do have pictures of close-up of the gravestone, of the tombstones and the gravestones and things, with all my ancestors listed on there as well. So these are different. These are in story form. You've got a mixture of fiction and fact. So if you're trying to put the details in there, you can create a fictional story and put in the beginning of the book that it is based on fact. And you can even have like an appendix or something in the back, or an author's notes in the back that talk about the facts that are in the book and how not sure how things happen, but we had to fill in the gaps. So those are the fictional parts. So, and you could put in there some references to some of the information that can be found in the book to verify that this is the correct information, blah, 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 blah. So there's that. All right. So what else do we have on our list? So those are the storybooks or the memory books. What are we up to? So storybooks, they've got mixed narrative writing, documents, and photos, can be printed professionally or made at home. They include chapters by ancestors, themes, or branches. It's completely up to you. There are keepsake binders or legacy boxes, organized physical documents, printed family trees, and photos in an accessible way. Include handwritten notes or family timelines, add a table of contents or color-coded tabs for clarity. One listener made a binder for each of her kids featuring their direct ancestors going back 5 generations with "Did you know" trivia on each page. I thought that was a brilliant idea. Just putting in little pieces of trivia about the family, about their ancestors that they got to know that they may find interesting. And you would tailor it to each child because, if one of the ancestors was involved, say, for example, in the railways, and 2 of the 3 children that you've made these books for are not interested in the railroads, but you've got one of your kids who loves trains and railways and everything about them. So you would put the "Did you know" portions in there about life on the rails with with his great-grandfather or his great-great-grandfather, depending on who it was, or grandmother. And then the other one, it might have been that this one was into sports. So let's put some sports trivia in there that from your ancestors. So when you're doing that, tailor it to what they're interested in, because if they can make a connection, like they had a love for trains, their great-grandfather had a love for trains. They now have a connection with their great-grandfather. On the other side, you could have that maybe a great-grandfather or a second great-grandfather played a particular sport, and one of your children is also very much interested in that type of sports as well. Maybe they have a grandparent who played sports, who played professional sports. That's always a cool one. And maybe they have heard the stories, and so they've got that special bond there between the two of them. So tailor the did you knows to what interests the children that you're making these binders for. Letters to grandchildren or future generations. Personal, heartfelt format. Share lessons learned, family values, or what a particular ancestor overcame. Include one photo or document per letter. A grandfather wrote letters to each grandchild telling the story of a different ancestor, included one piece of advice based on that person's life. That is another really cool. Way to do that as well. You often hear of parents who have terminal cancer who want to leave a legacy for their children, and they do all these different recordings based on events that are going to happen in their life. Like if when you get engaged, there's a tape there, there's a recording there for when you get engaged that you can listen to from the parent who has passed, who's talking about the fact that you've just gotten engaged, or on your wedding day, or on your high school graduation, your college graduation. There's certain tapes that are earmarked for certain events in your life. The first time you become a parent, passing on some parental advice, things like that. I think it's super valuable for those, and the parents who are terminally ill, who take the time to leave that sort of recording behind for their children, for the milestones they're going to be hitting in their life, I think is absolutely amazing that they've taken the time to do that. There are ones that don't have the time to do that, and totally get it. Their time could be too short. There are professional genealogists who specialize in telling the story and interviewing people who are terminally ill, interviewing them about their life and writing those stories for their children so that they later have it later on, helping them to record in some way the messages that they want to leave behind. So there are genealogists who specialize in things like that. Talk with, if you've got a person, talk with palliative care, talk with hospice. They'll be able to direct you to those people because they usually have a good list of people. And those people are very patient, very compassionate. They know how to record in an unobtrusive way. They know how to get the person to tell the stories without over-tiring them. They're very good at keeping the interview times very short, and honoring that person's memories by having these recordings and everything else that they can pass on. Which leads me on to the next one, which is slideshows, videos, or audio stories. So video recording plus old photographs gives you a deeply personal experience. Tools like Canva, Animoto, or just PowerPoint you can use to create slideshows with. There's a whole bunch of AI stuff coming out as well where you can that will help you create a slideshow. You can interview older relatives for inclusion. A researcher recorded her father talking about growing up in the 1940s and overlaid it with photographs, and it became a family favorite at every family reunion. Speaking of family reunions, one of my favorite things to do for family reunions, and as advices that I pass along, one of my favorite things for family reunions is to go around and interview family members who are there. Who are they? How are they related? Where do they fit into the family tree? And interview them, asking questions about their life and things like that. Get them to bring along warn them in advance to bring stories. Have a sharing time where everybody sits around and tells different stories about ancestors that they recall, about myths and legends within the family. Record it or video it, voice record it, just record it all. And then later on, you go back and you transcribe the videos and the recordings, and now you have material to make a book. And you've taken photographs from the reunion as well. You create a YouTube channel that is private, and only those who have the link can access it. And what you do is that you upload those videos into different playlists. So these are all the playlists from our family reunion of 2020. These are the playlists from 2021. These are the playlists, so that you've got the raw footage up there as well as the compilation video too. And then inside the book, as you're going along, if they want to see the slideshow, like the photographs, which you might have on video, you can put a QR code in there that will take them directly to that video or that set of photographs or that album. The other one that you can use too that we're talking about up here, you've got Forever. They are a digital storage space for things like photographs and documents and stuff like that. And you actually own the storage space. So you can even have the QR code going to an album on there. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get hold of somebody, the person that I work with at Forever, and see if they will come on one evening and do a demonstration on Forever and what it's about, especially from the genealogy side and how it can be used with genealogy and things. So keep an ear out for that. We're gonna get that organized. And so with these books, every year for Christmas, the families get given one of these books. And that's your Christmas present or holiday present to the other members of the family, with sending them information or giving them a recording of something to remember what happened at the family reunion. And they've got these books all lined up on the bookcase, and they can go there at any time, pull it out. They can pull out their phone to access the videos, to access the audio recordings, to access the Forever photo albums that are set up as well, because you can create albums within Forever, and they could put, like the 2020 family reunion. There's all the photographs. There's some videos in there as well. I don't know if we can do audio. You should be able to do audio. Can't remember if you put audio files up there as well, but it's a way for them to access the footage from there, as well as seeing this compilation video of the whole family reunion. And then you've got this thing with people sitting around just talking and telling stories and sharing things. And maybe somebody's bought, maybe people have bought dishes from traditional family recipes and things. How did this recipe get started? What do you recall of the stories that you've been told about the family immigrating into whichever country you're doing this in? There's just so much out there, and you never know who in the family is going to have a piece of information that could break through a brick wall. And this is one way of gathering that information as well. So when you're doing this, different audiences need different formats. Kids, visual, bite-sized facts, fun stories. Adults, they like stories with depth, emotion, and connection. Academic family members, they want charts, they want sources, citations, they want the proof. But know your why. Why are you doing this? Are you preserving a memory? Are you teaching history? Are you connecting future generations? Me, I'm all of the above. I'm all about making sure that memories are preserved, that the stories come to light. A teacher in a family received a printout of ancestors who were educators, and suddenly the family story felt very relevant to her life. Maybe you have some teachers in there, and you're figuring out how to teach this to the younger generations and things. And then we're going to, so how do you make it meaningful without overwhelming anyone? Don't try to share everything at once. Curate a focused story. Use simple language, especially for non-genealogists. Don't go into genealogical terms, because that's just they're going to go not interested. Mix facts with feelings, because emotions make it memorable. They get that emotional connection. Include a guide or a summary so others can navigate your work. And within your work too, make sure you have all your sources and your citations for everything. If you're stating something as fact, back it up. If you're saying this is a story, this is what we have heard, this is hearsay, this is who we heard it from, that's okay. But if you are putting in their documentation and facts, back it up. Where did you find it? Where can they go and get a copy of it? Consider including a start here page in binders or books, guiding your family onto how to explore the story. For example, a family historian included at least one ancestor's story each year in the family Christmas letter. Now the letters are treasured keepsakes. I came across that idea. Oh, that's brilliant. One thing that I did for a while, and I don't know why I stopped doing it, but I did it for a while. A friend of mine would send his grandmother a greeting card every day, and he was able to create the greeting card online. And what he would do is he would take a picture from something from that day. It could be a picture of another family member. It could have been a picture of a restaurant. It could have been a picture of, look what I got to eat today, Grandma. And he put all of these, and he sent her a card a day with a little short story about his day and what happened during that day. And he has a picture to do that. His grandmother loved those cards, getting those cards every single day. And she would sit there and just go through, and he told the story about one time how before she passed, he got to sit down with her for a while, and they went through the cards together. and she absolutely treasured those cards. So why not start something like that? There's a lot of different programs out there where you can create your own greeting cards and just pop them in the mail and send them so they actually have a physical thing. I remember going down to my parents' place once because I heard that idea and thought that was a great idea. So I started doing that with my parents. Of course, I'm having to ship it down to New Zealand. But I went to visit my parents after I'd started doing this. And in the kitchen, you've got the kitchen cabinets that don't go all the way up. But here are all the greeting cards along all the kitchen cabinets. My mum says we've run out of room. But there up on top of the cabinets were all the cards that we had sent. And on the front was a picture from that day with a little bit inside. This is what we got to do today. This is one thing we got to do today. And there's just somebody of sharing it. Why not do something like that with your family members? If you're interested in looking at different greeting card programs, contact us privately because we do have one that we use that you're able to do that for, where you can send it out every day. And we'll be happy to share that with you as well. So pick one person or one format and choose to share something this month. Even if it's just a short story, a printout, a favorite photo with a caption, do it intentionally. And just connect with people through a greeting card. Something as simple as a greeting card. So that's it for us for today. So there's some ideas on how to share your research. And as you're sharing this research and stuff with family members, somebody is going to stand up or stand out as somebody who could become the next steward of all of this information that you've gathered over the years. They could become the person who is then going to carry on with the research. They may become your apprentice for a while, and then when they're ready to take it, and you'll probably get to a point where it's like, I really don't want to do this anymore. Let's pass it across. But you're still there to help them through some things. And so when you pass, you know that they're in capable hands. They've got all the information. They've got all your records and everything else. And they're continuing on with recording the legacy of the family for future generations. So with that, we are out of here. Oh, our question for you today is, what is our question? How will you share your family research with the family? And not only that, how are you going to, is there anybody in your family right now who stands out that could become the next future family historian and take over the research for you? You gotta keep your eyes open because you never know when they're going to be needed. So with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we will see you guys tomorrow evening around 8 p.m. Pacific time. I have my mastermind call tomorrow evening, and that usually goes for an hour or two, and then I got to walk Zeffy. So 8 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow, we will catch you then. Maybe a little earlier if I can get on earlier, but at this time we're going to aim for 8. So sometime between 7:30 and 8, somewhere in there, but definitely by 8 o'clock. So go out and have a super fantastic sparkling evening.